Hejsa. This is a project I worked on all through 2024. A textile book that celebrates the Celtic Wheel of the Year. And the Celtic Wheel of the Year is divided into 8 seasons, festivals, Sabbats, whatever you want to call it. So I made 2 pages for each of the seasons with a few sort of filler pages, but I'll talk about that later. So I didn't start by making these 2 pages for Yule or the winter solstice, and there's not really a very great reason for why I started with that here, and I suppose it doesn't really matter where you start, since it is a wheel of the year, so it just keeps going on and there's no start and no end point. Right, so this is Imog, which is the midpoint between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. And these are actually the first 2 pages that I made. And you'll see that the rest of the pages have very little hand embroidery on them. Throughout 2024, I had an issue with my stitching hand, so I had to really scale down on how much embroidery I could, or hand embroidery at least, that I could add to this. So instead I just mostly used machine embroidery, which was fun to experiment with. I haven't done a whole lot of it before. So on these 2 pages, there is quite a lot of embroidery, like the snowflakes and on the bird. And this is the Ostar, the spring equinox. There's a little bit of embroidery here, but apart from this, I think going forward, the only things that are embroidered are the name of the season and a little poem I wrote for each one. Right, and then we have Beltane, which is the midpoint between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. I really love these dandelions. I know people see them as weeds, but I really like how bright and yellow they are. So all the plants that I have used in this book are, as far as I know, native to the UK, because that's where I live. And I count brought over by the Romans as being native. I think if you've been here for 2,000 years, then you're as good as native, aren't you? And the sun and the moon. And then we have Litha, which is the summer solstice. And Lunasa, which is the midpoint between the summer solstice and the autumn equinox. And here I used the rye because this season is a lot about harvest, or the start of the harvest, and especially corn harvest, and you can bake bread to celebrate it. And I chose rye because in Denmark, where I'm from, we eat a lot of rye bread. So that felt like the right choice here. And then we have Mabon, which is the autumn equinox. And finally Samhain, the midpoint between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice, also known as the Witch's New Year. So there's a lot of folklore related to all these seasons. I haven't made this for the folklore. I wanted this as a project that celebrates nature. And I'm really happy with the finished project. Both what it looks like and how much I enjoyed making it, but also because it has really made me notice things in nature more. Because I had to sort of research some of the plants. So which plants would be sort of in season for each of the 8 seasons or festivals in the wheel. And that made me notice the plants when I was out and about, especially walking our dog. So that was really nice. I feel like I'm sort of on first name term with a lot of plants that I wouldn't have been before, maybe not even noticed before. And also learned a lot about the plants, maybe that I knew already, like this common mallow. It was already one of my favorite flowers, or wildflowers. But researching this, I found that this is actually where the name of marshmallows comes from. That people used to make marshmallows from this plant. It's quite interesting, I think. Let's just skip these for a second. And as well as learning about the plants in real life, it has also been a really interesting project to try and turn them into these fabric versions. Don't think I've ever made anything like this before. So it's been an interesting process to try and sort of distill a flower or a plant into something that is recognizable, hopefully, but also where it was feasible to make it in this shape in fabric form, because I couldn't be too detailed about things. For example, these little daisies, they are probably a little bit bigger than they are in real life, but that's fine. And the same with the snowdrops. So I'm really happy with this project, and it's something I think I'm going to enjoy looking through every year or throughout the year. So originally I was only going to do the 2 pages per season, but because of the way I construct the book, that meant that I would end up with having the pages split up. If I only did 16 pages, then it would start here, and then the next, so this would be Yule, so that it would start with Yule, and it would have another Yule page here, then have the first Imbolc page here, and then the second one on this side, which that seemed a bit messy, so I wanted them facing each other. So I had to add 4 extra pages. And the first ones I knew that I wanted to include was this, although my original idea, they did not look like this, but I'm really happy with how they turned out with the phases of the moon and the sun facing it. And this page, I don't know if you noticed, but this is actually the only one that has printed fabric as the background. And the main reason for that is I didn't have a blue fabric in a color that I wanted for this page, and then I came across this fabric in my stash, and I thought, that might be quite nice, with some clouds and some little birds. And for the moon, I don't know if it's going to be properly visible, but the fabric I used for the moon's faces is a silver print one, and because it's sort of berries, it kind of looks like the craters on the moon. At least I think so. Alright, so I solved the middle pages here, but then I needed an idea for the front and the back page. And as you can see, I settled on this rainbow idea. And they're actually lined up, so if you look at it like this, it is a whole a rainbow. And then I added the text, create and rest, because there's a time in the year to create and a time to rest, because that's what nature does. And maybe we should try and do that some more. Because I enjoyed this project so much, I'm going to work on a project again this year, and it will be a textile book as well, inspired by the pages in this one, but they're going to be different, and there's only going to be one page per season. So for example, let's take Emote here, because that's the one that's coming up soon. So for this, for example, I'm going to just focus on the snowdrops, because I just love snowdrops. So it feels like it's so sort of emblematic for this time of year. So I feel like it deserves to have its own page. And then moving on to Ostara, that will focus on the daffodils. And so on throughout the seasons. I'm going to pick one of the plants, and that will be the focus. So my project will have 8 pages, but because I am going to offer this as a course, there will also be ideas and patterns for extending the number of pages. So for example, there will be patterns included for these 2 pages, and I'll also share how I made this one, although you can probably guess how I did it. It's not a big secret. And although my hand is a lot better now, I'm actually again going to focus on the machine embroidery for the project, mainly because I actually did enjoy the machine embroidery so much. So that's going to be the focus, but obviously if you'd rather hand embroider it, that is totally fine. And there's a lot of things you can do to customize it. So if that is something you would be interested in, I have left a link in the description where you can check that out. It's funny how obviously I made this. I know what's on each page, but I really enjoy just flicking through it and looking at the plants. And I'm happy that I managed to add a lot of variety, both in the plants and in the colors. And I have also learned some lessons from it, like be careful where you put things because they might go quite close to the edge. As I was working on putting the pages together, I really had to be careful how I trimmed the pages, because look at this one here. That was a very close call that the text would actually be caught up in the seam. And this one as well. So you live and you learn. So this has been my very, very enjoyable Wheel of the Year project throughout 2024, and I'm so excited about making another one this year. It really has been fun to just play with colors and different flowers. So I hope you enjoyed this video flicking through this project, and thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day, whatever you're making.